So Jeff didn't kill the Lich King. He goes to bed. It's 6 in the morning. Cody comes up. He wakes up. Tries to wake Jeff up at 8 a.m. Jeff's like this. Oh, it's so hot. I didn't get any sleep yesterday. Cody, you didn't make me go to bed. Oh, man. If you had made me go to bed, I'd be able to go to school. I can't go to school today. I'm so tired. I stayed up all night yesterday. And Cody's asking, like, well, what do you mean, Jeff? So you're not going to go to school today? It's like, no, I can't, man. I got to sleep, man. I'm tired. I'm tired. So then Cody's like, fam, fuck. Okay, Jeff, can I at least get you after lunch, man? We can't miss any more classes. We're gonna get expelled. Jeff's, all right, fine. I'll go later on. So then Cody leaves, and Jeff stays and he sleeps on the floor, right? And then what he would do is, because this room would be like really bright, he'd come into my bed and he'd sleep with me. Because Cody would usually sleep with me, but then after that, because like my room's really, really dark, right? And so, yeah, he'd come in and then he'd sleep on my bed. He'd be like, move over. And I'm like, I'd be like, did you get him? He's like, he didn't say anything, you know? And then he finally would wake up and he'd, you know, come downstairs, or I guess sometimes he'd be up here, sometimes he'd be down there. It wasn't either one, right? I would say he came downstairs. And my mom is awake, you know, she doesn't work. Oh, Jeffrey. You don't have school today? No. Oh, okay. Well, then why'd Cody go to school? Oh. You know how dumb Cody is, right? It was a half day, and Cody had to go earlier because he's dumb, and he had to do extra work. He had to do more schoolwork than me because I already finished everything, because I'm smarter than he is. So I don't have to go to school till later. Mom's like, okay. You want me to make you some bacon? Maybe some cupcakes? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. I'm gonna go up and play some WoW. Okay, me too. And she just fucking made him cupcakes for skipping school. And that's all it was, man. And so she just make us food while we play WoW all day and skip school. Genuinely the most exciting upcoming MMORPG. Okay,
with the recent news of Amazon's New World being delayed until 2021 and many hungry MMO fans being disappointed by this news, I decided that today I want to talk about the upcoming MMORPG that I personally believe to be the most promising, Ashes of Creation. Before we jump into it though, this video has no sponsor and took me a crazy amount of time to make, both with research, fact-checking and editing. So if you'd like to support my work for free, this game has an affiliate program that everyone who makes an account has access to. My link to this can be found in the description below, and all sign-ups to Ashes of Creation before September receive a small in-game statue for your house to commemorate our struggles through COVID-19. So for those of you that have never heard of the game before, what is Ashes of Creation? Ashes of Creation is a Western-made sandpark MMORPG that's focused on a strong mix of both PvP and PvE content. This game was initially kickstarted 3 years ago, but was already fully funded to completion via private investment from the game's creative director, Stephen Sharif. Unlike many of the Eastern MMOs that have had Western releases over the past few years, Ashes of Creation has consistently said from day one that there will be no pay to win in this game. Due to this, the game will operate with a no box cost subscription fee business model with a cosmetic only cash shop. The thing that makes Ashes of Creation the MMORPG that
cosmetic only cash shop does kind of annoy me, but I will allow it if the game is free, okay? Like, I would prefer to pay for the game and not have any cosmetics on the shop, but I will allow this to happen, okay? It's not free, Well, that's just what they said. They literally just said that. It's a sub fee. I see that it's no box cost. It says $15 sub fee, but the box cost is there's no box cost.
Subscription fee business model with a cosmetic only cash shop. The thing that makes Ashes of Creation the MMORPG that I'm personally the most excited for is the sheer scope of the project. This game seems to be combining all the best aspects from all the top MMOs over the past 10 years and combining it into one game, with all of that being tied together by the game's most unique feature, its node system. Throughout the world in Ashes of Creation, there's points of interest on the map called nodes. These nodes are basically areas that can progress to different stages of civilizational development as players kill monsters, quest, gather, and adventure within that node's area of influence.
That's cool. Like, this is actually cool, because it's like they used an example. They're like, what if you mine too much and then you like, you know, in Lord of the Rings, where it's like they fucking went too deep in the mines of Moria, and they released the Balrog, Durin's Bane, and this is the same fucking thing, and they unleash a dragon. That would be fucking cool.
Starting out day one when the game first launches, the world will be pretty empty.
BDO,
but let's say you and a group of friends all decide to kill mobs and gather in a certain area. Over time you'll be contributing XP to that area's node, and an expedition will appear with quests. As more players are drawn to that area, it will level up into an encampment with more quests, more NPCs, and more opportunity. After that, the node levels up into a village, town, city, and finally a giant sprawling metropolis with more opportunity, world events, and quests appearing at each.
That's some Prince of Persia shit, man. I really like the way this looks. I think this area looks really cool. I'm actually excited for this game. I know that, you know, I like to meme around with shit, but I'm genuinely excited about this game. I'm gonna play it. I talked to that guy Steven, and I'm gonna see if I can get beta keys for you guys, and we can try this out, because I want to. The thing is, like, there's nothing that is the most pure and beautiful experience is being part of something like this at the very beginning. And the reason for that is that there isn't any theory crafting. There isn't any guides for anything. It's just you go into the game and you're part of this fantasy alternate universe, and you just simply exist there. There's no rules, there's no expectations, there's just what is. And there's something that's so fucking good about that. Like, I remember in BDO, it was kind of like that, but it wasn't, because the game was in Korea or something a few years before that. But whenever I first started playing the game, you were just making your way in a hostile and unfamiliar world. And it was what was so fucking beautiful about it. I made a whole video about BDO. I loved it so much. It was great.
It was one of the very few videos that you did of other games.
Yeah.
And it still surprised me to this day.
Well, because it was so good. Like, I love that fucking game.
My one question for this game.
Yeah.
Can you make a Ret Paladin?
There's no way you won't be able to. There's no way you won't be able to, man.
But can you? Because that's why I don't play Skyrim. Or ESO.
So there's 64 classes. I think one of them might be something like a Ret Paladin.
Okay.
That was good enough.
Stage of development. Now that's a very simplified explanation of the Ashes of Creation node system, but on top of that there's also a lot of variables within this system. For example, at launch there will be 103 different possible node locations, and the location of that node dictates the quests and world events triggered upon development. At this point you're probably thinking, well, what happens when every node reaches its final stage? Wouldn't that—
That's kind of like what happens, it's like an example of this in WoW is like, remember back in patch 8.1 where like if you'd make the Nether Disruptor it would spawn the world bosses? Like, that's basically what this is.
Become boring? Well, due to how the system's designed, this isn't possible. In leveling up one node, you lock out the possibility for adjacent nodes to grow to the same size. To change this and de-level a node so that adjacent nodes can progress, Players will need to participate in a PvP node siege to destroy a city, for example, so the town node near to it has room to grow and different content can then be unlocked.
That's
the way this
cool.
system is designed intends for long-term player-driven replayability, where each server will have a different history of development and unlocked content. No two servers will be the same. An MMORPG with a true ever-changing world.
So this is something that a lot of developers and like these companies have thought about doing, and it's like none of these are the same, and then there's actually only like 4 different moving parts in this, and it's like which one of the 4 is active right now. And so I worry that it won't happen, but it is a it's a good idea. I like the idea a lot. They'll probably be the same. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like it seems like it's going to be like this really open-ended thing, but it just gets turned into like through theory crafting and metagaming into like something that's really simple.
Comes to node aesthetics, there will also be a lot of diversity here too, as the node will take on the architectural appearance of the race that contributed the most XP to its development.
That's fucking awesome.
So let's say a guild of orcs went to an area and contributed the most XP to a node, building it up to a town. You've then got a town with an orcish aesthetic. Maybe a guild of dwarves wanted to explore a node in the mountains. They could eventually have their own dwarven city in the mountains. The aesthetic of the node changes at every level of development based on the race that contributes the most XP to the node. On top of all this, each node in the world will be assigned one of 4 possible node types, with each having unique benefits. You've got divine, economic, militaristic, and scientific node types. Advancing a scientific node over an economic node, for example, will give different building options for players to manage in the node.
Well, we're Americans, so we're not going to do that one. But I like having the different types, right? And like you have like the mining nodes and the faith nodes. That's actually pretty fucking cool. Like everything that we're hearing here is really, really good.
Such as libraries, colleges, and artisan buildings, whereas if they leveled up an economic node, they could build markets, stock exchanges, and trade-focused buildings. Each node upon hitting the village stage of development will have a 1-week cooldown before node elections begin. In this, players can try to become the mayor of the node. As a mayor, you get to allocate resources, set the tax rate, and initiate quests to advance the node, as well as choose building projects contained within that node. You
guys had better vote for me. I'm gonna say that right now. Like, if you guys, we gotta have everybody vote for me for every building, man. I'm gonna be like George Soros, and I'll just own everything, and I'll do whatever I want. Okay, I'll be George Soros of the game. This sounds great. I love it.
The mayoral election system is designed is different for each node type. For scientific nodes, it's a popularity contest where you vote another player in. For economic nodes, it goes to the highest bidder. For divine nodes, the player with the most node-related service quests completed will become the mayor, and militaristic node mayors will be decided via a last-man-standing Battle Royale type minigame where players interface through a champion rather than their own character. Obviously,
that is fucking wild.
What the fuck,
dude? That is so good, dude.
Holy shit.
That is so fucking, oh my god.
That's a fucking good idea. Holy shit.
Wow.
think having your shit.
They get their ass beat, dude. Little dick ass boys trying to go in there and fuck with everybody, dude. Fuck them.
And so
well, you asked me if doing prison was the hard part, and I spent over 12 years in prison. In 18 years, I did 12 total. And it wasn't the hard part, wasn't going to prison, it was getting out and trying to be part of society again. Because at one time I was a contractor. I had 4 employees, 3-bedroom house, blah, 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 blah. And I had to lose it all to realize it was just stuff, but still. Then when you're done with your time, and I discharged my sentence in February 11th of 2011, I got my parole papers signed off. I became a citizen again. I can actually vote. I can actually go in and vote for the president. But I can't get a job here or here or here. I can't have any apartments because they won't accept felons. And I even went through an agency that took felons, and they'll give a pedophile an apartment before they will me because I had a drug charge. I wasn't even dealing drugs, I had possession. But anybody that has possession of drugs, they're worried about them selling drugs in their apartments, so they won't give them one. But this place would give a pedophile, somebody who raped a little baby or something, and give them an apartment, but they wouldn't let me have one because of my felony, because I had a drug felony. And it just the hard part was just becoming part of society again. It's like they didn't want me. They didn't want me to be part of their society anymore. So I just decided, fuck it. I'm gonna sleep in a tent. I'm gonna do what I love for a living, which is playing music. And if I just make a little bit of money, I'd rather do what I love with a passion and make a little money than go back to contracting and try to make a lot of money and be part of a society that doesn't even want me no more. Fuck them, you know? Fuck society. That's the way I feel.
Feel that? Why did...
I meet a lot of good people, but I believe there's a lot of good people out there, but for the most part, most people, all they care about is themselves. You could be standing there on the corner bleeding and people just drive by you. And they wouldn't want no part of it. They wouldn't want no part of the drama. So there'd be 1 in 10 that might stop and help. You know? I walked up to a woman once to ask her what time it was. I was pushing a cart. Me and my wife were pushing our cart. We had all our stuff in a grocery cart. I was pushing. I needed to know what time it was, so I went up to ask this woman what time it was. She's like, "Oh, get away from me. I don't have any money. Leave me alone." I'm like, "I don't want money." She's like, "Just get away from me. Go." I'm like, and I'm thinking, what could have this woman been through that she's so terrified of a stranger that she... What if my wife was pregnant, her water just broke, and I needed help? I mean, who knows? What if I was having chest pain and I needed her to call 911? She didn't care. Just get away from me. Go. I don't got no money. She thought all I wanted was her money. I just want to know what time it was. And it hurt, man. It's like, damn. People are...
It does hurt.
You know, it's like, damn. It's humanity. So many people, what have they been through that makes them so terrified of relationships and people that they just don't want nothing to do with nobody? It's sad. It's
I
really
wasn't
sad.
scared of you when I saw you.
Well, but you're 1 in a million, you know? I mean, you're actually sitting down and talking to me, you know? Most people don't give a damn. But it's all right, you know. When it comes down to it, I came in this world by myself, and when I die, I'm going to be the only one in that coffin. And so really all I guess that matters is me, I guess. I don't know. I think people matter, but the more I'm starting to see, less and less.
You matter, bro.
I feel that way about you too, man. You matter. I mean, you care.
You
It's
matter.
sad to see that most people don't. It's just sad because there's so much beautiful things in life. There's so many beautiful things in life. Relationships are beautiful. Nobody wants relationships. Check this out. I've got over 240 some friends on Facebook. Most of them I knew from high school. I mean, I knew a lot of people. I got around, all right? 240 some people I know on Facebook. Most of them I thought were good friends from high school. Christmas Day, I Facebooked them all, and I'm like, hey, it's Christmas. I haven't talked to some of y'all in over 20 years. Here's my number. Call me. Let's have a conversation. Nobody. And I posted that thing over and over Christmas Day. Nobody. And I'm talking people that asked me to be their friend. Oh, so-and-so wants you to be their friend. Well, I know this person from high school. Sure, I'll be their friend.
What does that
They wouldn't
mean?
call.
What does that mean?
It means people don't want relationships no more. They're so into their internet and so into their Facebook. They got their this is their idol. Internet's become an idol, man. It's like people don't want relationships. They want the kind of relationships where they can be who they want to be and be who they are. You know, instead of being who they are, be who they want to be and pretend to be. Oh yeah, I'm 6'4" and I got dark hair and blue eyes and big shoulders. But then I can't ever meet this person because I don't look like that, you know? And most people on these internet relationships, man, a girl, my high school sweetheart, I hooked up with her on Facebook, contacted her, hey man, let's meet. Well, she gave me her number. She's like, well, look, just text me. I really don't have time for conversations no more. She'd rather go text back and forth for 2 hours, texting back and forth, instead of having a 10-minute conversation that could have summed it all up. People don't want conversations. They don't want nothing no more. I don't know what they want. But this world sucks, man. The way that people see it. Really.
Totally agree.
You know, so.
I mean, but
I'm just trying to make the world a more better place, man, a more beautiful place. And if music and art can do it, and somebody appreciates it, that's all that matters. If I can make a difference in one person's life, that's all that matters. 'Cause,
you made a difference in my life.
Praise God. I mean, hallelujah.
You did. I wouldn't be sitting here with you if you hadn't.
Yeah.
Because you were playing your guitar when I.
One of the biggest problems that gamers have is moving into the real world and doing things outside of the game. I mean, if you guys could do whatever you wanted to outside of the video game, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be listening to me. And that's a perfectly reasonable problem to have, as crazy as that sounds. And what I'd like to do is start by digging into where does that come from? Why is it that you guys may have things that you want to do, but have trouble actually doing? You have hopes, you have desires, you have dreams, you even know what you should be doing, but you have trouble doing it. And so in my view, the way to actually get control of that, the way to control your behavior and start doing the things that you want to be doing, that you know you should be doing, is to understand where that problem comes from. In order to understand how to fix something, we have to understand what's actually wrong. And I think a lot of the paralysis that gamers have in doing things outside of a video game actually comes from the way that they're treated when they're very young. A lot of gamers are smart. Data actually shows that the average gamer is actually smarter than the rest of the average population, that you guys have higher IQs than the rest of the average person. And so what I found working with gamers is that a lot of gamers, when they grow up, they're told that they're smart. And so kids, when they're told they're smart, something very interesting happens. They start to develop this identity that I'm a smart kid. And when they start to develop an identity that they're a smart kid, they start to do things that reinforce that identity and stay away from things that contrast with that identity. So for example, if I'm a smart kid, I want to do things that other people are going to perceive as smart. But if there's something I'm not very good at, if there's something that I try and is going to make me look stupid, a kid is actually not going to do that. And so over time, what starts to happen is the smart kid only does things that make him appear to be smart, which means that things that are, generally speaking, easier, and stays away from things that are hard for them. And so this works out fine until they're like in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, because as a smart kid, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time studying. You can just do the things that you want to, and everyone, like your parents or your teachers or your family or family friends, are all going to say, oh, look at that kid, he's so bright. But over time, what happens is those kinds of kids start to avoid challenging things. Because whenever they do something that's challenging, they feel stupid. And that's not who you are, right? Because you're a smart guy. And I know all of you guys think you're smart. You think you're super geniuses. And the funny thing is that's true. But as I'm sure you guys know, being smart isn't enough. So let's kind of go back a little bit to this idea of a smart kid doing only things that they feel is smart. And so when they do that, what happens is they start to avoid difficult things. And as the kid gets older, that avoidance becomes kind of baked in. It becomes a part of who they are and how they move around in the world. And so this avoidance actually starts at a very young age. And if you stop and think about it, the hardest things for gamers to do, the hardest thing for you to do, is something where you're being observed by other people and you feel incompetent. And why is it that that bothers you so much? Even if those are people that you don't care about, even if you're never going to see them again, it's really hard for you to do anything where other people see how incompetent you are. And so what happens is gamers, they run away from any sort of experience that makes them feel less than smart, or where they feel kind of silly or incompetent. And that actually paralyzes you in life, because most of the things that you do in life, you're gonna suck at the very beginning. And so if that's the case, if that resonates with you, the next natural question is, if this problem starts because you have a kid who has built up this ego of them being smart, and in order to preserve that ego, they actually avoid doing anything that they have to learn how to do. They only do the simple things. Then you end up where you guys are now, which is that you know you should do a lot of things, but it's really hard for you to do them because of the way that you feel judged. So how do you get around that? The first way you get around that is by reframing a little bit. So in the world, we tend to value intelligence. And we say like, oh, so for example, I'm a faculty member at Harvard Medical School. And so when people learn that, the first thing that they say is, you must be so smart. And it's true, like I'm a pretty smart guy, but I'm actually probably not a whole lot smarter than you guys are. What the world actually values and rewards is experience and competence. Because if you think about it, a lot of people are really smart, but they actually don't amount to much. And that's probably the way that you feel right now. You feel that despite being so smart, you're not able to accomplish a whole lot in life. And 95% of gamers, when I talk to them about that, they say that it's because I'm lazy. And we'll dig into lazy, but for now I want to focus a little bit on reframing from smart or stupid to experience and inexperience. So the more that in your mind you can realize that actually your success has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has to do with your experience or inexperience, and the degree of competence you have, the better off you're going to be. So I encourage all of you guys to think about what you want to do and try to tell yourself, try to reframe in your mind that it's not that I'm smart or I'm stupid, but that I'm experienced or inexperienced. And the more that you can start to approach situations like that, like let's say applying for a job, you can say, oh, I suck at interviews. But interviews require practice, and the more you practice at interviewing, the better off you're going to be. And so I encourage all of you guys, if you're feeling paralyzed in life, if you're feeling like you can't move out into the world and do the things that you want or should do, to first look at yourself and ask yourself, is the roadblock to me moving forward because I feel judged, because I feel stupid? And if the answer to that question, which I guess is yes, then the first solution that you have to do is a change in your mindset. Don't think of yourself as stupid, think of yourself as inexperienced. And the neat thing about that is that the more you think of yourself as inexperienced, the more you naturally realize that the solution to inexperience is to try things. And the funny thing is that when you try things and you accept that you're inexperienced, you're actually okay failing. And if you really look at yourselves, I would bet money that the problem that you have is that you can't tolerate the idea of failing. But if you can reframe to inexperience, then failure is kind of a normal part of it, right? You've got to learn, you've got to stumble a couple of times before you learn how to walk. And if you guys can make that shift, I think that's going to be the first step to you being able to move forward in the world and kind of overcome that obstacle of feeling like you're stupid or feeling like you're judged. Over the past few years, I've had the chance to work with dozens of gamers. And the more I work with gamers, the more I started to wonder, like, what's actually going on in these people's brains? In my day job, I'm an addiction psychiatrist, so I tend to work with people who have problems with alcohol or opiates or marijuana. And one of the things that I have always found really helpful is to understand, how do these substances actually affect the chemistry in someone's brain? And so the more I work with gamers, the more I realize that gaming certainly has effects in people's brains, but those effects tend to be a little bit more subtle than what happens with biological addictions like alcohol. Alcohol, for example, directly stimulates certain receptors in your brain that give you feelings of euphoria and disinhibition and kind of slow you down a little bit. Whereas gaming affects your brain in slower ways. It's not like it's not an actual chemical or physical substance that's entering your bloodstream and directly activating parts of your brain. The way that games affect your brain tend to be in smaller ways, and they tend to affect different parts of your brain at the same time. So the first kind of circuitry that I wanted to talk about today is your reward circuitry, or your dopamine circuitry. And dopamine is the primary neurotransmitter that regulates pleasure in the brain. So there's this part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. And when dopamine activity happens there, it's one of the ways in which we feel pleasure. It's like the pleasure center of our brain. If we look at a lot of drugs of abuse like cocaine and amphetamines and things like that, those stimulant drugs tend to directly increase dopamine in our brain, which makes us feel good and euphoric. Video games usually start out that way. So if you stop and think about, why is a video game fun? Like, what makes it fun? It's because there's something going on with the way that you're interacting with the game, and there's some degree of engagement that causes this